TIFU, by posting a NSFW meme in work group chat. This actually happened a few years back, but my old DM recently reminded me of this when we were talking. For my old job, we used GroupMe for everyone from the different stores to communicate their sales, ask questions, etc. If you're familiar with GroupMe, you'll know you can also send messages to individual people. I was chatting with a manager at a different location in a private chat, and switching back and forth between the district chat and the private chat. I looked down and saw an empty box that had the words "empty box" printed on it. It was November, and I had a brilliant meme idea. I took a pic of the box and did some magic adding the text, "My vagina during No Nut November admired my handiwork," and shot it off in my message. To only realize I sent it to the work chat, not the private one. My boss calls me laughing so hard he's crying, telling me that he understands it was a mistake but to be more careful. That stupid meme has haunted me since LOL TLDR. I once made a meme about No Nut November and accidentally sent it to my work district chat, not a DM with another employee. TIFU, by spilling $100 worth of wine over my crush. Earlier tonight, I had my first real date since getting to college. Everything was supposed to go great. I arrived for freshman orientation last week and immediately started flirting with a beautiful girl in my orientation group. This girl was way out of my league, and yet she was flirting back. I couldn't believe how lucky I was. Evidently, I used up most of my luck for the week, maybe the year, in getting this girl to be mutually attracted to me. Unfortunately, last Friday I was playing ultimate frisbee and collided with a friend of mine while going for a catch. I wasn't seriously injured, but the accident did leave me with a black eye. Despite looking like deformed offspring of Sloth and Grimace, I decided to shoot my shot and ask this girl, we'll call her Rebecca, to dinner. Well, whatever luck I had left came through because, to my surprise, she agreed to go out to dinner with me. Clearly, I had exhausted all of my luck stores on her over the past 2 weeks because I couldn't catch a break this week. The absolute worst part was the fact that despite countless hours, ice, and thousands of milligrams of aspirin, my eye was still swollen shut and very dark purple for my date tonight. While I was still excited to pick her up for our date, when we arrived at the restaurant, it looked a lot like Quasimodo got Esmeralda to agree to a date. We sit down and quickly get immersed in conversation. Our conversation was going so well that I hardly noticed the tables surrounding us to staring at us and my unwanted accessory. It's at this point that I should probably mention that I can be very expressive when I talk. I am notorious for using my hands and swinging them wildly to express my point. This is where the FU happens. As I previously mentioned, I can't open my left eye and thus can't see anything to the left of my nose without moving my head. Unfortunately, this means I didn't see the waiter carrying a tray of full wine glasses walking past me when I wildly swung my arms in the air to emphasize a point. Regardless of the point, I ended up giving an uppercut to the tray and caused a waterfall of glass and wine. The world seemed to slow down as that waterfall fell in Rebecca's direction. Next thing I know, her previously white sundress was stained purple and she had a mortified look on her face. I apologized profusely to her and the waiter and tried to make sure they weren't hurt by any of the broken glass. Luckily, she was fine, but did spend some time in the bathroom getting cleaned up. She came back in decent spirits, although the dress seemed beyond saving with massive purple stains all over it. After apologizing once again, she actually started laughing and called me a goofy, but said she thought whole situation was hilarious. The rest of the date went relatively well, all things considered, and hopefully we can do it again. Task failed successfully, TLDR. I made me and my date match by uppercutting a tray full of wine. TIFU, by smacking my left nut as hard as I could. This happened just over an hour ago. After I got off work, I went to sit on the back porch to enjoy a beer or two and scroll through YouTube or whatever. After 3 or 4 beers in, I was getting a little tipsy. I was just stoked to relax after a long day. This is my normal ritual, and I really just enjoy the time alone. Then I met the most ninja-flying insect I've ever encountered. The mosquito of death is what I call it now. It was biting away at my left arm when I noticed it. Even in my moderately sedated state, I had a very hard time killing the thing. After multiple bites, I was over the company and decided it was about time to go inside when the bitch ass landed right on my crotch. I didn't think twice. Hell, I didn't hesitate one bit. I smacked my left testicle so hard my life flashed before my eyes. The best part is, I didn't even kill it. it just started sucking the blood out of my arm again. I've never been so mad at a bug in my whole existence, and my left nut still hurts. TLDR. I smacked my left nut as hard as I could because I was tying to kill a mosquito. TIFU by ad-lib singing Disney songs during sexy times. My 27M girlfriend, 23F, traveled down to spend some time together over the weekend. We tend to get frisky, especially when there's no one around, and literally today was no exception. I'm currently sitting and typing to you from the safety of the toilet. I was working from home earlier today, and she was doing her own thing for the better part of the morning and afternoon while I was busy with meetings and reports. We were poking and prodding each other during that time, and things naturally escalated and intensified into the early evening. Things came to a breaking point during our evening movie after dinner. She really wanted to watch The Little Mermaid with me since it was recently released. Now, the movie frankly wasn't great, and we poked and laughed at the nonsense of the film throughout, but gave up 30 minutes in after the song Under the Sea had ended. You can probably guess where this is heading. We kissed, frisked, and moved upstairs to the bedroom where things went naturally from there. In all my infinite wisdom and timing, the song returned to me during the final stages of our activities. I sang out aloud to her while inside here, under the sea, with you and me, in the pussy, where I will pee. And here I am now on the toilet. TLDR. My brain decided to sing Under the Sea while we were engaged in sexual activities. TIFU by making an abandoned baby joke. This actually happened last weekend. While I'm still reeling from the cringe, it occurred to me today that you all might enjoy hearing how I inserted my foot in my mouth. I, 34F, am staunchly child-free and don't have any kids of my own. I actually do like babies and kids just fine. However, I definitely like to make jokes about how inconvenient they are. So, over the weekend, a colleague of mine, 33M, was telling me about how on his recent flight from the Atlanta airport, someone left a baby in the TSA line. He said at first it seemed like someone just stepped away, but then there was a pretty big fuss, and it seemed like someone actually just abandoned the baby there. After some giggling, I said, well, I can't really blame them. Babies are super annoying to fly with. He chuckled a little, and that was that. Fast forward to later in the evening, a few beers in, we get on the subject of our parents. He mentioned both of his parents were deceased, but also that he was adopted. Me. Oh, I didn't know what you were adopted. Were you adopted as a baby or when you were older? Him. As a baby. Actually, my biological mom abandoned me at the hospital. OMG, guys. I think my face turned like 6 shades of red. He didn't seem to make the connection to what I said earlier, but I wanted to die. TLDR. I made a joke insinuating that it was acceptable to abandon a baby because they are a mild inconvenience. To a guy who was abandoned at birth by his mother. TIFU by having intimate time with a guy. The story is actually more embarrassing than it could appear from the title. Before I tell the story, I would like to underline the fact that this happened in a small conservative town of the South. I, 18M, started to date this cute and sweet 18M guy. We had a couple of dates. That went really well, TBH, before he invited me to his empty house. We had a fantastic time playing video games before the tragedy happened. We decided to have a little snack before dinner, something light not to ruin the appetite, something like a whole bottle of vodka with just some Doritos. I won't go in detail of what the situation was like, but we ended, almost, drunk in his living room, both undressed, doing the things you would expect 2 horny teenagers would do in this situation. LOL. A small detail I voluntarily omitted is that his dad should have worked extra hours today. And I obviously don't know his work hours, so I was actually pretty sure we would have not had any kind of problems. So when he told me that he had to have his phone near because his dad could call, to warn him that he would come home early, I just shrugged it off by saying that it was not an important thing and that he should not worry about that. So time passes, we're completely undressed, and we're doing the stuff while we're in his living room. We hear the door open. It was his dad. So we basically panicked really hard. I ran away in his room while he went straight to him, trying to explain the whole situation. Long story short, while I was dying of embarrassment, wanting to die in that exact moment, worried of what his father would have done to both of us, we discovered that he was pretty chill about it. He was more angry because we drank a whole bottle of vodka, then for his son having gay sex in the living room of his house. TLDR. Today I fucked up by having intimate time with a guy because his father caught us in the middle of the act. TIFU by making a joke at a baby shower. My coworkers were throwing a baby shower party for one of my colleagues. One of the requests prior to the party was for everyone to give their baby photo so that they could play the Guess Who is the Baby game. It's important to note that we only have one black employee, let's call him Chris, in our company. I work in a relatively small company, 50 people. Everyone arrives and we are having food and wine. I am cautious to drink, but decide to enjoy 2 drinks to allow myself to relax. The host, mid-level supervisor, initiates the game, and everyone is going through the motions of trying to figure out who is who. Now comes the only black baby photo, and my coworker Sarah says Chris's name. IDKY, but I go, geez. I wonder what gave it away. There was an awkward silence, and then the game proceeded. I'm slightly paranoid my supervisor will call me into the office to discuss it, but maybe it's a minor TIFU, TLDR. Keep my mouth shut during company parties. TIFU by telling my kid's 3-year-old's friend not to aim the Nerf gun at people. So for once on this sub, this actually happened about 6 hours ago today. I just got out of the emergency room. My son and his friend, both 3 years old, were playing with the Nerf guns, and I told them, whatever we do, we don't point these at people, especially people's face. They listened for a bit until this kid decided, I think it would be funny to break the rules and shoot this guy in the face. So what does he do? He runs up to me and shoots me right in the face. Now I've had plenty of injuries, but never by a Nerf gun. This dart hit me dead perfect in my right eyeball while my eye was open. Instantly, I went 100% blind in my right eye. After a few minutes, I realized this was serious, so I went to urgent care. The doctor at urgent care looked more nervous than I did, and immediately sent me to the ER. I get to the ER, spend 6 hours there by the time I get out, but I did regain about 10% of my vision since then, and the docs say I should get it back within a few days, hopefully. But the docs also told me, this is why you don't let kids play with Nerf guns. Touché, I guess. Wish me luck on my road to recovery. TLDR. Kid shot me in the eye with a Nerf gun after specifically saying don't shoot people in the face. Caused immediate blindness in my right eye, which will hopefully come back. For now, I'll wear my eye patch and say, Arr! Please like and subscribe for more daily content.